Hey YouTube, what's going on and welcome back to Carbinox Things. I've got a really unique little flashlight today. This thing is called the Carbinox BlastBeam. Now this is something that you can get by itself, or as I did, I got it inside their outdoor artillery pack, which is pretty cool. It came with a lot of items including a large tactical backpack, sunglasses, a speaker, and a bunch of other odds and ends. Now Carbinox is not normally a flashlight brand. This is a smartwatch brand, which is where I got the Carbinox Blaze from, and a couple other smartwatches from them. However, in today's video, we're going to be reviewing their flashlight and see how it holds up. Now let's get started with the size on this flashlight. Now, one thing I will say is that I don't really have any specs available to me as far as dimensions, as far as output, battery, really any of that stuff. So I'm going to do my best here just to kind of give you what I know and talk about whether this is a good flashlight or not. So I'm just going to take this little light roller I have here. Alright, and let's see what we're looking at as far as length. So just above 2 inches there, about 2 1/4. Okay. On thickness, we're looking at 1/2 inch. Alright, and on width, so we're going to have to go all the way from these little knobs on the side to the top there. So somewhere right around there. Just under 2 inches on width when you include in these little spinning knobs here. Now let's see what this looks like in comparison to some other flashlights. First off, let's look at the Lumen X3, which I think is a bit more similar size-wise. And you'll see here that the Lumen X3 is a bit longer there. However, both are really tiny in my hands for the most part. These are still very small flashlights that will absolutely sink into your pocket. So it's shorter. Now, as far as width on the actual body of the flashlight, it's very close to the Carbinox being a little bit smaller. However, if you do it from dial to dial here, the Carbinox is significantly wider. And on thickness, you'll see that it's very, very close. I mean, it's almost identical there on thickness. So pretty close on size to the Lumen X3, a little bit shorter. Now, let's look at this next to about the smallest flashlight you're going to get in this market here, which is the Nitecore Tiny 3, and you'll see just how small this is in comparison. Shorter, much thinner, and not as wide either. So that is it's literally called the Tiny 3. That is a very, very small keychain flashlight. So this is definitely bigger than that, but still, like I said, very small. So that's what we're dealing with as far as size on this. Now, as far as the battery, the only thing I can really tell you is since this is transparent on the shell here, it does say 750 milliamps on the back of that battery. So that's pretty much the info I can give you, is that it's 750 milliamps. It does have USB-C recharging. There's a little port here on the back. You just lift up this little flap. You'll see there the USB-C port. So easy to access there, and it does have a battery indicator located right here when you turn it on, so you'll see that I've got the 4 blue lights, meaning I'm on near full battery. As far as the design, now this is obviously where it's just got kind of a lot going on for it. We do have a magnet in the back here, so let's check out how this magnet does. Okay, it didn't feel like it has like crazy suction, but I mean it absolutely sticks on there, and you're not going to have any issues with that magnet. We do have the see-through case here on both the top and the bottom of the shell, which I think is pretty neat, being able to see the internals of the flashlight. And then surrounding that, we kind of just have like this, I don't know if it's, just like an aluminum casing here, skeletonized casing, I guess you would call it. It's definitely a unique design. I've never seen anything that looked like this before in the flashlight market. And then on the sides here, I think that these definitely take up a little bit of extra room, although it's still very small in your pocket. It definitely adds some width there, but it does add a little bit of funness, I guess you could say, in that these are just meant to be fidget spinners as far as I can tell. You can either spin them or hold them and kind of spin your flashlight with it. Something to play with if you're into that, I guess. And then here up top, you'll see we do have 2 LEDs out the top. No idea what LEDs these are. And then here on the body of the flashlight, we do have 2 rubber buttons. They have a pretty good click to them, so that's good. And overall, just a very unique looking design. It does have a little pocket clip here. It's tiny. It doesn't really lift up at all. So here's about how much will stick out of your pocket if you've got this in your pocket. Right about there. So not a crazy amount or anything, but it will stick out a little bit. I recommend just using the little lanyard hole there on the bottom and throwing a lanyard through it. Now I did have to take an extra piece of thread and tie it around the cord of the lanyard here to get it through, just because that hole was so small. As far as the output on this, really the only details that I know is that this maxes out at a listed 1000 lumens. So pretty good out of a small flashlight. Obviously 1000 lumens is plenty for most people. Now let's take a look at the user interface here. So clicking does nothing from off, so it is not a click on click off. It's actually, and you'll see here that the power symbol's there on the left button, so you're going to hold to turn it on. And then once you have it on, you'll see the battery indicator comes on, and then you're simply just going to click through to cycle through your brightness levels. And then on the left here, if I can turn off this front flashlight, or I can leave it on, either way. But if I hold that, now I get these side emitters, and that's where I'm getting my white light. So I cycle through a high and low on the white there on the side lights, and then I've got a steady red, and then a blinking red and blue, and then you hold to turn that off. So you can have the front flashlight on while turning the side flashlight on, as you can see. And then you just hold either button that you want to turn off, or both. So the user interface isn't too difficult once you get the hang of it. Let's go ahead and see what this little thing can do with some beam shots. Now that we've taken a look at the beam shots, let's talk final thoughts on this flashlight. I think that it's packed full of features when you consider that it's got the magnet, it's got the side LED emitters with a double LED out the front. That's great. You know, obviously the little fidget spinners if you're into that. I think that this can hold its own with some of these other small flashlights. I can see if someone doesn't want it just due to these little side spinners here. Otherwise though, I think 1000 lumens out of this little thing is pretty good, and the price seemed relatively decent as well. I want to say it was somewhere in like the $30 to $40 range. I don't remember because I got this out of the outdoor artillery pack instead of getting it as a single item. And Carbinox sent me that outdoor artillery pack as well. But Carbinox's whole thing is they're meant to be like really tough products, like everything that they do, from their smartwatches down to every other product in the line. And so that's what this is really meant to do, is just be a bit more robust and something fun and unique as well. So I do think it's pretty cool. I wouldn't necessarily take it over, you know, a high-end flashlight or anything like that. But as far as what this can do, can this be an everyday flashlight for you? It absolutely can. It definitely holds its own weight with some of the other small flashlights in the industry, and it adds some unique features that you're not going to see elsewhere. So definitely check this one out if you're interested. The Carbinox BlastBeam. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great week.